sandwiches, ice cream, coffee and snacks, and many other pleasing treats. Our foods are fresh and tasty, our drinks satisfying and refreshing. They're so good.
Welcome to Average Joe's Drive-In.
And now, on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to a special mini episode of Average Joe's Drive-In. I, of course, am on a couple-week vacation from the show, but you know what? You're still going to get something anyway, and I want it to be a surprise. So, what this show is all about is I'm going to give a little review and some fun facts about the Blade Trilogy. So let's get going and not waste any time. The Blade franchise can in many ways be attributed to the future success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The films were far from the toned-down superhero films we had gotten before. Blade stepped it up, added elements of gore and violence, and an edgier general tone. It was also one of the first times I can remember seeing a person of color as a lead in a superhero film. While it may not have been as successful as later-day Marvel films, it laid the groundwork for what was to come. What these films set in motion, directly or indirectly, cannot be denied. I, for one, would love to see this franchise rebooted and back on the big screen. Up first, from 1998, the original Blade.
You better wake up. The world you live in is just a sugar-coated topping. There is another world beneath it. The real world.
For thousands of years, they have existed among us.
You keep your eyes open. They're everywhere. Chances are you've seen them yourself and didn't know it.
A secret nation.
Our livelihood depends on our ability to blend in.
With a lust for power.
We should be ruling the humans. These people are our food.
They've got their claws into everything. Politics, finance, real estate.
There's a war going on out there. He makes the weapons. I use them.
Now, one will lead them to conquer mankind.
Tonight, the age of man comes to an end.
We're gonna be gods.
And one will try to stop him dead.
There are worse things out tonight than vampires.
Like what?
Like me.
Half human.
Blade's mother was attacked by a vampire while she was pregnant.
Half immortal.
You got the best of both worlds. All our strengths, none of our weaknesses.
He is their greatest fear. And our only hope.
It's open season on all vampires.
Wesley Snipes. Stephen Dorff.
You're one of them, aren't you?
No, I'm something else.
Blade.
This is an action horror directed by Stephen Norrington, 120-minute runtime, rated R, stars Wesley Snipes, Stephen Dorff, and Chris Christopherson. I watched this one on DVD. Synopsis. A half-mortal, half-immortal is out to avenge his mother's death and rid the world of vampires. The modern-day technology-advanced vampires he is going after are in search of his special blood type needed to summon an evil god who plays a key role in their plan to execute the human race. I'd forgotten how fun the first Blade is. It moves at a great pace, there's plenty of action, the performances are well done, and you never find yourself bored. It's a solid movie through and through. If you really think about it, this was probably the precipice for the kickstart of the entire MCU of films. I think if these films hadn't been successful, we may never really have gotten all the other great Marvel movies. Wesley Snipes is fantastic as Blade. It's hard to picture anyone else playing the character. I'm sure it's going to happen at some point. In fact, there's a fourth Blade movie that did have a different actor, though I haven't watched that one yet. The big bad is dislikable enough that you wish ill will on him, but don't hate the performance. Sometimes I find it crosses the line and you end up loathing the performance on the whole because of the bad guy. Not the case with this. The supporting cast does their job, the film's well shot and has a great look to it. It complements the film and really puts you in Blade's world. The music is spot on as well. My rating for this is a 7 out of 10. The average IMDb rating is a 7.1 out of 10. And some fun facts. Blade grossed over $131 million at the box office. These are all the fun facts were taken from IMDb. Give credit where credit's due there. The Vampire Bible is referred to as the Book of Erebus. Erebus is a god of dark night in Greek mythology. Chris Christopherson's character Whistler was created for Blade's cameo on the Spider-Man 1994 cartoon show. He was liked so much by Marvel CEOs that he was adopted into the MCU. Stan Lee originally had a cameo that was ultimately cut from the film. He played one of the cops that come into the Blood Club during the aftermath and discover Quinn's body on fire. Couple interesting little tidbits there. Up next, Blade 2 from 2002.
There's a world beyond the one we know, where the powers of darkness fear nothing but one man. Stop! Blade.
We represent the ruling body of the vampire nation. They're offering you a truce. They want to meet with you.
You sure about this?
They'll take us in deeper than we've ever been.
Now, those he has sworn to kill need his help to fight a new breed of terror.
They're no longer top of the food chain.
Our forces are ready to fight, but we need a leader.
Let me get this right. You want me to hunt them. For you?
Ooh, so exciting.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Keep your friends close. Keep your enemies closer.
Here I am, Blade. Wesley Snipes.
Not know who you are.
Messing with! Blade 2.
This is an action horror sci-fi directed by Guillermo del Toro, has a 117-minute runtime, rated R, stars Wesley Snipes, Chris Christopherson, and Ron Perlman. I watched this on DVD. Synopsis. Exploding from the pages of Marvel Comics comes the thrilling follow-up to the blockbuster Blade, half man, half vampire, and consumed by desire to avenge the curse of his birth and save the human race from a blood-drenched Armageddon. In this newest action-packed adventure, Blade is forced to team up with the very vampires he hates in order to overcome a new type of monster which threatens to eradicate both races. I always forgot for some reason that Guillermo del Toro directed this. It's rather obvious when you sit down and watch it, but it always ends up slipping my mind when I'm not in the moment. His style is present throughout the film. While I really like the first Blade, this one is in my honest opinion, this is the best in the series. It gets everything right, it's fun, it's action-packed, funny, and well shot. Plus, The music really enhances the ambiance of the entire film. One thing that I've always loved were the effects. It's a good blend of practical and CGI. Neither really takes the spotlight, but they complement each other enough that you're never pulled out of the movie by them, and they generally enhance one another. The characters are great, and the performances fit perfectly. This is one of those franchises where the second movie is hands down the best of the series. Again, the first film's great, but this just takes the series to a whole other level. My rating is an 8.5 out of 10. The average IMDb rating is a 6.7 out of 10, which I find kind of funny. Fun facts from IMDb. Blade 2 had a cumulative worldwide gross of over $155 million. Donnie Yen, a martial arts star who plays a member of the Blood Pack, Snowman, was also the film's fight choreographer. When Damaskinos mentions the virus that causes vampirism, he says parvovirus, though the closed captioning says horrible virus. Because of the obscurity of the term, parvovirus is a true virus type and meets all the requirements for creating vampires in a fictional environment. The term was too obscure for most people to recognize, other than experts in virology. During the fight with Nomak in the church, part of the House of Pain, the stained glass window is a replica of Doctor Strange, another Marvel character who battles the occult, medallion. The Eye of Agamotto. As a fan of the character, Guillermo del Toro expresses interest a few years later in developing a Doctor Strange movie with writer Neil Gaiman, but the project was rejected by Marvel at the time. So that's kind of an interesting fact that I didn't know. We could have had a Guillermo del Toro directed Doctor Strange. Up next, the last film in the trilogy, and that is 2004's Blade Trinity.
I have to ask you a couple of questions. What can you tell me about vampires?
They exist.
Blade. First, he faced their gods. Then, he battled their demons. But all that was only the beginning.
He's come back.
Vampire final solution.
You can't win this war alone.
Who the hell are you people?
My father meant for us to help you.
Whistler's daughter.
What the hell makes you think you know about hunting vampires?
Just for starters, I used to be one.
Blade Trinity.
There's nothing stopping them now. There's me.
This is an action-adventure horror directed by David S. Goyer, has a 113-minute runtime, rated R, stars Wesley Snipes, Chris Christopherson, and Parker Posey. I watched this on DVD. I've seen this synopsis. Getting ahead of myself. The war between humans and vampires continues, but the human's best hope, human-vampire hybrid warrior Blade, has been framed for countless murders, turning popular sentiments against him. The vampire leader responsible for Blade's bad publicity is Danica Talos, who's determined to finally lead her bloodthirsty compatriots to victory. Now Blade must team up with a band of rogue vampire hunters to save humanity. I've seen this the least out of the original 3 Blade films. Personally, I thought it was a letdown after the first 2 films. It never really grabbed my attention like they did. And I think I've only watched this like 2 or 3 times total. I wanted to watch it close to the other 2 films. I figured that way I could judge them a little more fairly. Each time I watched them before, they were spread out at different times. Watching it a little closer to the other ones, I can honestly say I enjoyed it more. I know that makes little sense, but it does stay in the same spirit as the other ones, even if it does seem a little different when watching them spread out. Ryan Reynolds is basically Deadpool in this before he was Deadpool. Jessica Biel works well as Abigail, and Wesley Snipes does his thing as usual. The problems I have are with the bad guys. They just didn't work. In the first two films, the villains were loathsome but enjoyable, and they had purpose and reason behind them. While they explain why Dracula has been resurrected in this, it just feels rushed and kind of thrown in. Not to mention, the ones trying to use Dracula are kind of annoying. They seem more like spoiled frat kids than, vampires bent on world domination. Honestly, this isn't terrible, but compared to the first films, it definitely falls short of expectations. Still, I'll take it. Not one I will throw in often, but I will definitely view it again from time to time. My rating is a 5.5 out of 10. The average IMDb rating is a 5.9 out of 10. And some fun facts about Blade Trinity. This is the least grossing of the three Blade films, earning just under $129 million worldwide. Jessica Biel inadvertently destroyed a camera costing more than $300,000 when she fired an arrow directly into the camera's lens. She was directed to aim for the camera, which had a plexiglass shield in front of it to protect it, except for a small opening in front of the lens. Biel had perfected her archery skills while training for this role to such a degree that when she fired the arrow at a distance of approximately 50 feet at the camera, as she was directed, it went directly through the lens and into the camera itself, destroying it. The footage of the incident is included in the DVD extras, which I don't ever remember seeing, and I know I've watched the extras. Even though it's the third movie in the Blade series, this was the first movie to have the Marvel Studios logo at the beginning of the movie. Blade is, of course, a Marvel comic superhero. And this one is just kind of weird, but I find it interesting. The old barge that the Night Stalkers use as their lair was originally a floating McDonald's restaurant built for Expo 86 held in Vancouver. So overall, the Blade franchise has grossed over $415 million at the box office, which is pretty impressive. Now, if you think of the time period now, most Marvel movies make that on their own per film. But again, as I said before, I don't think without Blade's success that the MCU would be what it is today. So when you go back and think about this movie, just think of it like this: that if these films had flopped completely, we may never have gotten the Marvel films we've got today. Just food for thought. It's a series that I enjoy very much, and I go back to every few years and rewatch, and I'm really hoping I would love to see Wesley Snipes in at least one more, or just a new Blade series in general, because it is a lot of fun, and it kind of satisfies the horror lover in me. Thank you guys for listening to this mini episode of Average Joe's Drive-In. Make sure you go check out my sponsors, the Maine Cannababes, at www.mainecannababes.com for all kinds of information on cannabis and support some awesome people doing awesome work. And remember, kids, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, and I will see you sexy animals on the flip side.
It's intermission. Rise and stretch time. Time to refresh yourself and visit our snack bar. Got a yen for hot popcorn? Your favorite soft drinks are sparkling cold. The juicy Frank sizzling hot. There's delicious coffee, freshly brewed, and all kinds of ice cream and candy to tempt you. Showtime will be announced loud and clear to get you back to your car in time. So stretch your legs. Come to the snack bar now.
Thanks for listening to Average Joe's Drive-In. If you'd like to talk movies or contact the show, add our social media pages. You can add us on Facebook at Average Joe's Drive-In Podcast, on Twitter at TWJ Author, on Instagram at Thomas Washburn Jr. You can also hit up www.thomaswashburnjr.com for more information about the show and related links. If you'd like to support the show, you can buy TJ's books on Amazon. Just type in Thomas Washburn Jr. in the search. Books are available in Kindle and paperback formats. If you have Kindle Unlimited or Prime, you can read the books for free and money will be earned by the pages read. It doesn't cost you anything and it supports the show. Until next time, you've been listening to Average Joe's Drive-In.